Welcome to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese, a program that can help you become liberated in the modern world. Now, here's your host, Dr. Kevin W. Reese.
Hello, and welcome to episode 25. So, if you're new to this podcast, the first 12 episodes are discourses on my inner peace practice. And then from there on out, I talk to interesting people of peace, get different perspectives, get different stories, and there's gems sprinkled throughout that you can take with you, learn from, and open yourself up to get to this ultimate state of peace. And then every now and again I fly solo, like I am today. And I may do that, like I did on episode 20 with the blue antelope. Maybe I'll do that on the 0s and the 5s. Today I want to talk about depression and anxiety and help you to be aware that they're illusions. Now, that might offend some people because people tend to become attached to their suffering. It becomes a part of them. It becomes a part of their identity. Because they can turn it around and create sympathy with their friends, family, or whoever. I remember one time I was out and about with someone who was widowed, and a stranger came up and was helping us with something. And I remember this person that I was with telling the stranger that she's widowed. There was no reason to tell the stranger that her husband passed away. It was just a reaction to get sympathy. Nothing more. That always stuck with me. And that was many, many years ago. This is what we do. We attach. We want to tell people that, yeah, I suffer from fibromyalgia, or I'm a cancer survivor, or, my child drowned in a pool when they were 3. Like, everyone wants to tell people their story. They want to feel heard. And we're seeing that on social media. Social media is providing an outlet for people to spew their suffering. And unfortunately, it brings other people down. Depression is in the past. Anxiety is in the future. And I'm telling you that the past is an illusion. The future is an illusion. The only thing that's real is right now. The present moment. When you look up the definition of a moment, there's pretty much 2 definitions that you'll find. One of them is sort of an old school 1700s type of definition. And a moment used to refer to a block of 90 seconds. The scientific definition is 15 seconds. So whichever definition you want to rock with is fine with me. 15 seconds or 90 seconds. Either way. That's all you got. That's your moment. When you start thinking about what happened to you when you were 12 years old, that's your story. That's your human experience that you went through. If you dwell on that, if you dwell on your past in any sort of way, your story, you may create a sadness. And little bits of sadness equal out to this term that they call depression. You are not your story. Now, don't get me wrong. It's in the back of your head, right? You're going to remember things that have happened to you. If you ask me questions about, say, my old radio career, I can tell you things. It's kind of like the blue antelope said, right? In episode 20, I told you. He said, the past exists like a burn, like a scar. You're not your story. You think that you're Joe from such and such town, and you're 5'10", and you're Caucasian, and you're a plumber, and no. That's your outer life. That's a description of your outer life and your circumstance. Once you disidentify yourself from all of that, once you unattach, you start to gain clarity and truth. If you were to stay in the present moment, whether you view that as 15 seconds or 90 seconds, that's on you. Whether you stay in the present moment, that sadness and depression that you're feeling will fade away, and you'll see that it's an illusion. Of course, social media doesn't really help because we constantly compare, right? We've talked about this in the first 12 episodes quite a few times. I think in the ego episode. You're going to automatically compare yourself with someone else. It's the way you're programmed. It's like, let's say you don't have a lot of money and you're going through your Instagram news feed and you see your coworker, and your coworker is, just bought a BMW. You're going to feel a certain type of way automatically, unless you're in a state of love. If you're in a state of love, then you become happy for the person. But a lot of people say, oh, I'm so happy for you, but they're really not. You can get away with it on a text message, right? You automatically compare, especially if you're in business. Back when I was in the music business, you look around at your so-called competitors. What are they doing? What's he doing? What's she doing? Comparing. Let's talk about the future. The future is an illusion too. It hasn't happened yet. Tomorrow hasn't happened. 20 minutes from now hasn't even happened. When you let your mind drift, when you let your mind go and start its imagination process, you're only creating anticipation, or you're stimulating your ego, one or the other. If you're imagining something that hasn't happened yet, you're sort of stimulating your ego. And people mix this up with the whole law of attraction thing. Law of attraction is creating more depressed people. Motivational speakers are creating more depressed people. My opinion is stay away from motivational speakers. The Gary V's of the world. They tell you, you can do this and you can do that. Everyone has the capability to achieve this and that. All you gotta do is learn. Knowledge is power. But the truth of the matter is this. Not everyone can get to the top. Not everyone can be a starting athlete in the NBA, right? You may get to the NBA, you might have to play the bench. And then even that is exclusive compared to all the people that play basketball in this world. And it's the same thing with these motivational speakers. They tell you, you can do this and you can do that. Well, then you get empowered. You get a battery in your back. Then you go and do that. And you might fail. You might fail. And now you're disappointed because you didn't reach the expectation. I'd rather keep it 100 with people. Like, you may not be able to do this. Why? Because not everyone is built the same. Our inner life, what we're made of, is all the same, but our outer lives are different. We have different personalities. We have different mechanisms. We have different DNA. I'm an overachiever. You might be an underachiever. What's that mean? That means you can't compete with me on certain ways because I'm going to win, right? This is the difference between Joe Blow, basketball player, and a Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. They're obsessed. They're overachievers. They're going to win. They're competitive. That's the Gary V's of the world. So I know that's not what you're used to hearing. You're used to hearing go, 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 achieve, achieve, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. I'm an unmotivational speaker. I'm here to tell you that peace has nothing to do with ambition. All goals are in the future. You're creating anticipation, and anticipation leads to anxiety. Your mind sends signals to your adrenal glands, right? Which are right above your kidneys, and they release little bits of adrenaline, and that gives you this panicky feeling. So it goes from mental to physical very fast. Have you ever had a panic attack? They are not pretty. They are one of the worst experiences a human being can have. I had mine in my late 20s, and it led to heart issues. I'm not going to get into that right now. It's all documented in a lot of my webinars and whatnot. But it's a bad feeling. And then you become scared of the panic attack. So that creates more panic. Or if you think you're having a heart attack. But if you didn't think of the future, you wouldn't have any anxiety. You created it yourself. You got caught up in an illusion. There's no such thing as time. You think there's a such thing as time because you look at your watch and you say, oh, it's 7:30 p.m. I have to be somewhere by 8. Time is only a measurement to keep society on track. Your inner life has no time, has no gender, has no color, has no circumstance. But your outer life deals with all this stuff, and you get all stressed out. Relax. It's not that serious. You know, one of the things I used to do, I remember I created this habit back in college. I would make lists, to-do lists. I remember even one of my great friends hitting me up recently, like maybe a year ago or something. He was like, hey man, I wanted to let you know I make lists now. I'm like focused. He's like, I'm like you, man. I learned that from you. And I'm like, dude, I hate to break the bad news for you, but I don't make lists anymore. I don't really make lists unless it's like something I need to do in a day or two, and it's like a project and I just don't want to lose my place. I might make a list for that. But I'm not going to like make a list of everything I have to do for the week or for the month. I'm not going to put my goals down of what I want to accomplish this year. I used to do all that. No more. And I would encourage you not to do it, because you're dealing with the future, the illusion of the future. If you desire to achieve something, you're not going to forget. It's going to be there anyway. One has to understand that you are here to have a human experience. So you're here for, 80 years, give or take. Your prime is between 35 and 45, right? Between 35 and 45, that's the top of the peak. Think of a little mountain, right? And so every day you're having this experience. You're going through a process. And you have to learn to trust that process. You're going to fail at things and you're going to achieve at things. And quite honestly, your reaction to the failure and your reaction to the achievement should be the exact same reaction. This is called equanimity. It's a very strong Buddhist teaching, equanimity. To not be up and down and up and down and up and down. To be able to manage your emotions and stay even Steven. Something great happens, cool. You don't have to jump around and be like, yeah, and be so super happy. Just like when something bad happens, you don't have to frown and cry and be sad. It's all just an experience that's happening, like I've said a million times on this podcast. Nothing happens to you. Everything happens in front of you. This is your human experience, and you are not the body, and you are not the thoughts. And when you get caught up in those thoughts, you're going to create either sadness that could lead to depression, or you're going to create anticipation that leads to anxiety. And I get it. It's not easy to train your brain and learn how to do all this, the inner peace practice, as I call it. But it gets easier the more you practice. The more you correct your thoughts and keep coming back home. Keep coming back to the centered mind. You're reborn every moment. Again, whether you consider that 15-second blocks or 90-second blocks, you're born every moment over and over and over and over again. When you live in this perspective, you will no longer suffer. So you're not where you want to be in life. Well, that's your fault for wanting. You had desire. That's a problem. Desire wants, passions, they're almost always self-serving. It's one of the reasons why I'm sort of enjoying the process of this new nonprofit organization, Eat the Sunlight, and the stuff that we're doing with the kids, because it's not self-serving. It's helping. It's it's going to help society, and it's not about me. It's about creating something that'll be here long after I'm gone, right? To help people be healthier. Same thing with this podcast. It's about me letting you know my experiences, letting you know what I've learned, what I've remembered, re-remembered, and what I've experienced to help you find this inner peace. It's not super duper goal oriented like when I was in radio, or even when I was a health practitioner, when I was taking clients. That was all goal oriented. Believe it or not, it is. Even though it's, you want to help somebody, it's still goal oriented, because you put them on a program, and let's say the program is 12 weeks, and so now you're trying to meet that goal. And when the client doesn't do what you tell them to do and they don't reach that goal, it's a letdown. It's an attachment. It's a desire. And it's the same thing with your whole existence. A lot of you are very ambitious. You want to achieve this. You want to achieve that. Everything's based on a deadline. Everything's based in the illusion of time. And I have a lot of colleagues and friends in the entertainment industry, like I used to be. And that's the worst kind of industry, because it's all based on achievement. It's all based on status. And not everyone's going to make it. It's just not possible. Just not possible. That's like saying every male in the United States should be 6 feet or over. It's just not possible. I'm 5'9". It is what it is. Not everyone can be 6 feet or over. Not everyone can be, 6'6" like Kobe Bryant. It's just not possible. And it's the same thing with achievement. Not everyone can become a lawyer. Not everyone can become a doctor. Not everyone can be a parent. That's another cause of depression. Some people want to be a parent so bad, and maybe it doesn't happen. And then when you get into your 30s, it'll hit you. Especially women. They might have that feeling of, I want to get married, I want to have kids, and next thing you know, they're 35, and they're like, oh my gosh, and now they feel like they have to rush, and then they settle down with somebody, and it's the wrong situation. All because of a desire. These desires are dangerous. Trying to live up to a standard, a socially engineered standard. Relax. You're just here to have an 80-year experience, give or take. You're in a school, my friend. You're in a mystery school. Your whole, real, true purpose is just to experience. To have fun, to learn, to love, and to find peace. And once these start happening, you start to remember and realize your true self when you get into your inner life. That's why they call it self-realization or God realization. And of course, in Zen, it's called the original face. You're just clouded. That's all. But again, if you're going to go into the past, if you're going to compare, if you're going to say, oh, I used to be a model and it didn't work out and I spent 15 years doing it and I didn't make enough money and I'm a failure. Now you're in the past, and that creates sadness, which leads to depression. Or if you're in the future and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become a model. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to be the best. And this person says I'm handsome or I'm pretty and I can do it and I know I can do it. This creates anticipation, which then brings anxiety. So do you see how this dynamic of the mind works? When you go into a new project or a new endeavor, just know that it's going to be an experience. Know that it's going to be a process. Remind yourself. Trust the process. Keep saying that to yourself. Here's 3 things. Here's 3 mantras. 3 affirmations I'm going to give you right now. And you hear them all the time on this podcast. Number 1. Trust the process. Everything's the process. That new endeavor, that new project, your entire life, your relationship, it's a process. It changes every day. 2, again, nothing happens to you. Everything happens in front of you. You're not your mind. You're not your body. You're actually a spirit or a soul. You're a light. Your electricity, your energy, whatever you want to call it, full of awareness. Understand that. Even if you have a broken leg, it's not happening to you. It's happening in front of you. And the 3rd affirmation I want to give you is what the blue antelope taught me. Do not get attached to the results. So if you do a project or an endeavor or whatever it is, even in a relationship, don't get attached to the results. The results are in the future. They didn't happen yet. And when they do happen, if you're not attached to it, it'll be okay when it fails. And it will fail. Forget those expectations. Forget it. Just relax. Just relax. Keep your mind centered. No going to the future, no going to the past. Keep it in the center. Live in the moment. Feel the gratitude when you look at the trees. When it rains out, when your friend calls you, whatever it is. You're working on a project, just be grateful you're working on it and it's a cool thing, and just do the best you can and just relax. It's not that serious. Life isn't as serious as you think it is. We think it's serious, but that's an illusion. That's society. That's social engineering. Trying to train you, trying to teach you to be somebody. You were born a nobody, and then you try and become a somebody, and then you try to become a super somebody, and then hopefully you have an awakening, and you realize that the real goal is to become a nobody again, like you were when you were a baby, to become a nobody. And then once you transcend and once you become that nobody, then you can come back to the society, back to the family and you can just simply play a role. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a podcast host. I'm just playing the role of a doctor, a teacher, a public speaker, a podcast host. I'm really a nobody, and it's beautiful. Nobody means no body, right? Learn how to relax. Put down those pills that they gave you for your depression, for your anxiety. Put them down. Wean yourself off if you're on them. And just practice staying in the present moment. And know that you don't have to become somebody. It's okay. You have to make some money? Fine. Go work a regular job. It's okay. Give yourself permission to go work at Home Depot or, Stop and Shop, to be a plumber, whatever. You don't have to become the CEO. And if your skill set is for that type of life, you kind of want to do it, fine, but don't become attached to results. Attachment and desires lead to suffering. One day you're going to be, hopefully, laying in bed on your deathbed, and you only got days left or hours left. Your whole life is going to feel like a dream. All you need to solidify is that you had some fun, you had some love, you had some awareness, you lived in this creation, you did your thing. You don't want to look back and be like, oh, I suffered so much and this and that, and I should have did this and da. Just relax. You may be very surprised what happens when your heart stops and your breathing stops. You're going to find something else. You're going to find your inner life. You're going to be forced into your inner life. And this is what I'm trying to explain to you now. That you have an inner and an outer. If you get your inner life in order now, your outer life isn't going to mean as much at all. It's going to be really like an illusion or a matrix. Okay? I hope you found some value in this recording today. Future episodes, I'm talking to some really interesting people coming up. If you're really serious about it, go back to episode 1, the seminar, and make your way up to 2 and 3, 4, and go like that. Start at 1. Audio is very powerful. Audio is a big part of how I've developed my life. Big part. I'm enjoying talking to you, and be sure to share and tell other people, and the more people that hear these, the more people that can be helped. And just know, if you're suffering from depression or anxiety, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to. Okay? If you're looking for more information on me, my books, my seminars, my webinars, which are free, and these podcasts, go to drreese.com. That's doctor spelt out. And I'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese. If this episode opened your heart, feel free to share on social media and tell your loved ones. Also, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, may peace be with you.